I wanted to take you through a rough progression of what I mean by expansionary money. So how do we expand the money supply when we're in one of these long periods of expansion? Well, you might start with physical commodities. So you might start with gold and then expand to gold and silver, bimetallism. Then we move to promissory notes equivalent to or backed by precious metals. Then promissory notes backed by faith. Virtual representations of promissory notes backed by faith, promises to repay promissory notes backed by faith, and bets on the price movements of underlying assets. All of these are credit instruments that become equivalent to money during one of these long periods of expansion. So credit instruments gain moneyness, if you like, on the way up. But as I ran through that series, it's quite evident that we got further and further away from any basis in anything that is actually real. So we got into more and more esoteric levels of promises, promises on top of promises on top of promises. So we really have built a mountain of human promises. So if you look at this quote, you may or may not actually recognize it, but I think you'll agree that it's quite a good description of our modern society at the moment. Beautiful credit, the foundation of modern society. Who shall say this is not the age of mutual trust, of unlimited reliance on human promises? That is a peculiar condition of modern society, which enables a whole country to instantly recognize point and meaning to the familiar newspaper anecdote, which puts into the speculator in lands and mines this remark: "I wasn't worth a cent 2 years ago, and now I owe $2 million."
Historical precedent in Virgil in Austria back in the 1930s, in response to the depression, the economic depression in the 1930s. Virgil was very hard hit, and the mayor of that city had the vision to write a scrip as a local currency that was initiated by the local city council. He only had so much money to do works with, that he couldn't do all the works that needed doing and to run a city, so he took 40,000 shillings and banked that and then wrote scrip against that. And then that scrip went out into circulation. It allowed them to pay to get capital works done, and projects were able to continue. But the extra advantage of the system was that it was the currency in circulation, allowed for all sorts of trading activity.
As asset prices and consumer prices fall, the value of cash will rise, if you're lucky enough to still have some. And an awful lot of people probably won't be so lucky, because when you get rid of the credit, that is the vast majority of the money supply, we're going to realize there's not actually a lot of cash in circulation. It's not nearly enough to support the range of even the most basic economic activities, let alone a lot of the fluff, if you like, that we've built into our current system. Liquidity, or cash, is critical because it represents uncommitted choices. It's a handful of choices you have the right to make later, at a point where you have far more information as to what are the appropriate choices to make, and far more opportunities. So when you preserve capital as liquidity during a liquidity crunch, you preserve your freedom of action. Cash represents your freedom of action in the world, your ability to put what you would choose to do actually into practice.